Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again, today with a brand new video, and the mini set has been out for a little bit, and like we like to do for every content drop, is take a look at HS Replay, and we know what all the good cards are, you know, Paladin cards and Druid cards and all of that, but what are the worst of the worst? The cards that make you think, what were they thinking? Or more likely they just don't have enough support and they'll get good later or good in different formats. We're gonna take a look at a data-driven look at the worst cards so far from the latest mini set. If you enjoy the content on the channel, if you like, I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps us out a lot. And as always, we're gonna sort by deck win rate at Diamond through Legend since the mini set came out. Is that a true indicator of what the worst cards are? No, but that's what we're gonna go with. Starting off at number 10, we have the dual class card, Elemental Companion, which is for Hunter and Mage. You summon for 3 mana a random Elemental Companion. It's a take on like Huffer, Misha, and all of that. And you either get a 4/4 that can't be targeted by spells and hero powers. Your spells cost less than 1, spell damage +2. It is in 0.3% of decks, has a deck win rate of 46.5%. Some of the highest numbers we've had from the worst cards. This mini set has been pretty powerful and has been played 3,900 times. Both Hunter and Mage aren't doing great right now, and this card doesn't really make sense in any of those decks, and as a result, isn't doing tremendously well. But again, the numbers aren't terrible, and I do anticipate at some point, whether it's through summoning elementals or just maybe something built around the spell damage or the mana cheat, and you can get it to work, that this card might end up being a meta player. A lot of these cards might end up being a meta player at some point, but overall, yeah, that card just doesn't have a home. At number 9, we have a dual class card for Rogue and Priest, the Hidden Gem. I thought it might be a hidden gem, this mini set, at least not so much so far. 2 mana, 2/2 elemental. It has stealth, and then at the end of your turn, you restore 2 health to all friendly characters. It is in 0.8% of decks. It has a deck win rate of 44.9% and has been played 11,000 times. So a good amount. Again, where does this fit into? There's an overheal priest list that's been going around that might prop this up a bit, but Rogue's one of the best decks out there, and they don't want this card, so it's going to end up in pretty fringe lists, and as a result, again, it's a card that in theory could give you infinite healing, right? It doesn't get AoE'd and you ever attack with it, but overall, again, just hasn't found that home of a top tier deck, but the deck card isn't exactly struggling too much. And number 8, we have the 1 mana rogue spell, Fool's Gold. I guess it turned out to be Fool's Gold. Get a random Golden Pirate and Elemental from other classes. This is in 0.3% of decks, a deck win rate of 44.4%, and has been played 4,500 times. Again, is Rogue lacking value right now? Like, their best deck is like just infinite random crap that cheats mana. This is not infinite random crap, but it's more random crap that doesn't cheat mana, so why bother? It's just minions, and overall, again, not seeing a ton of play, and the decks it's popping into are like tier 4 looking decks, not super strong, but again, it's not a terrible card. 1 mana, get 2 cards, they're shiny, you know, you gotta love the shiny cards, but overall, like the card quality of the pirates in particular are really solid, but again, hasn't found a home. At number 7, we have the first ever dual class location. I'm like, I didn't think this looked good, but I'm like, every location almost to see play, I gotta give it a playable rating, but so far, not so great. It's for Warrior and Demon Hunter, the Crimson Expanse. It's 4 mana, 2 durability. You choose a damaged minion, so it could be any minion, summon a copy of it that goes dormant for 1 turn. Obviously, the dormant part's pretty rough on it, and is in 0.3% of decks, 44% deck win rate, and played 5,600 times. And Rage Warrior really fell off, and that dormant ability of it just really kind of slows this thing down. You really got to hit something big and impactful for that to be relevant. It's got to be damaged, and overall, yeah, it hasn't really made sense right now. But again, a card that could see play at some point. I absolutely would not say it's completely irredeemable. At number 6, we have like a ton of neutrals on this list. This is the first one, Iridescent Gyreworm, a 3 mana 4/3 neutral elemental, Death Rattle, give each of your other minions a random bonus effect. Bonus effects being the, you know, the spark bots, the one amalgam band stuff, divine shield, taunt, rush, infuriate, all that kind of stuff. It's in 0.3% of decks, has a 43.4% deck win rate, and played only 3,400 times, and that's pretty low considering this is an achievement card, but you can do this achievement in one game, so maybe there is that. But overall, it's a 3-mana 4/3, you know, it's whatever. But the fact it's a Death Rattle, you have to be ahead on board, have this die, really hard to kind of get that to work, and minion heavy decks just aren't really a thing right now. It's all about insane mana cheat and value and crazy generation. You're not seeing a lot of super board based decks. The closest you got is like the Barrel of Sludge Warlock, which still just does 1 billion damage to your face and doesn't really care about buffing their board for the most part. And yeah, again, a card that could see played some point maybe, but at this moment, not really at all. At number 5, we have a card that makes me sad, and I do think it'll be good maybe at some point, is Shale Spider, a 2-mana 3/2 neutral elemental battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, draw a card. It is in 1.1% of decks, has a 43.2% deck win rate, and has been played 18,000 times. The elemental decks just still aren't good enough. They got a bunch of support in the expansion, the mini set, but they got a legendary that hasn't been that great. We'll talk about that monstrosity later. And yeah, Shale Spider, again, 2-mana 3/2, draw a card with elemental tag. It's got to be good. Well, it needs that elemental deck to make it good, and there just isn't a really top tier one. And as a result, it's number 5 on the list. At number 4, we have Fissure, a 4-mana Fel spell for Demon Hunter, for which does deal 2 damage to all minions, including your own. At the start of your next turn, deal 2 more damage to all minions. It is in 0.2% of decks, a 42.5% deck win rate, and played only 2,000 times. It's a 4-mana deal 2 that your opponent can kind of play around the next turn to avoid that deal 2. Like, it feels like every minion on the planet right now that's relevant has like 3 or more health, right? Like, it doesn't really kill anything. Even the treants by that point, when it's 4 mana, they're not dying to 2. And then the next 2, you're probably blowing up or they're buffing it, and it still doesn't work. And yeah, like, it just feels like if you make an AoE card these days, unless it costs like 0, or it just needs to do 3 or more. Dealing 2 is not good enough, and I feel like at 3 mana, this card would still suck. And it's in Demon Hunter, a class that has no archetype that's even remotely playable that isn't just pure aggression. You don't want to nuke your own board, play an AoE, you just want to kill your opponent. So yeah, this card is completely lost right now and has no real purpose in the meta. At number 3, we have the Stone Drake, a 6-mana 2/8 elemental dragon, and it's neutral, divine shield, taunt, lifesteal, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. It is a 1.4% of decks, a 41.9% deck win rate, and played 10,000 times. You can see the elementals, people are trying to make it work. It's a dragon too, but for 6 mana to attack, not great. And you know, like in arena, it's a really good card. It really is. It's really hard to remove, but current ladder, it just isn't. There's Titans, there's Rhinos, there's AoEs, there's bigger minions. It's just not impactful enough. And again, there's no good elemental deck out there. So what is this card really going to do? And it's certainly not elevating those decks. So yeah, it is kind of lost. At number 2, we have probably the most disappointing card of the expansion. Nobody really or the mini set. Nobody really expected it to be great, but we wanted Therizade, the 7-mana 7/5 neutral elemental legendary, to be good, and it just hasn't happened. It has taunt, and it doubles the stats of all elementals in your hand and deck. It is in 1.6% of decks, a 41.6% deck win rate, and has been played all of 12,000 times. It's not great ways to cheat it out. That's what you really need to do. And doubling 1 time, you might as well play Lorthamar, right? It does hit your hand, unlike Lorthamar, but without scamming this card, you can't do the stuff like in Wild, where I could scam it out like really early and do some ridiculous stuff. Like, it's just not the same in standard, and as it stands, this card is it's as bad as it looks if you're not into that monstrosity look of that Therizane. And yeah, it is number 2, but not number 1, which belongs to a really good card in WoW. This card is broken, literally broken. It's still partially bugged, and it is a Demon Hunter and Rogue card, Shadestone Skulker, a 1-mana 1/1 elemental. It has Rush, Battle Cry, take your weapon and gain its stats, Death Rattle, give it back. This is in 0.07% of decks, has a 36% deck win rate, and played only 1,200 times. There's no big good weapon deck in standard. This card's nuts with any big weapon deck. It really is. In Wild, you got Kingsbane. That's not what it's broken with. It's broken with Necreum Vial. It's bugged. It just does way too much damage. They need to fix it. It's hopefully next patch gets fixed. But overall, yeah, the card is nuts in WoW, but in standard, there's like, look, think about Demon Hunter Rogue right now. Neither of them really have a weapon you would want to borrow and just get that trade in. It just doesn't make sense. And what else are you going to play this card in? It's very narrow, very niche. It has to go into that style of archetype, which just isn't present for either class. And as a result, it's not doing literally anything, and nobody wants to play it because what are you playing it in, right? So this card will be good at some point as long as the weapon support is there. But right now, it is the absolute worst card of the mini set. But as you can see from this list, all these cards still have potential. None of these cards were terrible. They're just, you know, the worst of the mini set. But overall, I think they all have a shot to see play for the most part. Like, they're really not that bad. That's how crazy the power level is in Hearthstone right now. Even the bad cards are still probably going to be pretty good at some point. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. What are the worst cards from this mini set? What's disappointed you? What you loving? Whatever. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.